What is going on, everybody? What is going on? The Catch fam, I hope you guys are doing phenomenal tonight. I hope you guys have had the best Friday of your entire life. I hope you guys are ready for another live 2023 fantasy football mock draft with you guys, of course, with the Catch fam. Tonight we have got a full PPR 12-team mock draft, which we basically do every single mock, but I'm excited as ever to be here with you guys. If you are new to the channel, be sure you guys hit that subscribe button on the way in so you can add another guy who talks about fantasy football and another guy who runs mock drafts to your algorithm. It will change your life forever. Most importantly, though, please hop in the live chat. Any fantasy football topics that you would like to go over tonight, let's get into it. It's July 7th. It's almost time, guys. Almost time for the real fantasy season, for the off season to end. I'm so excited. And whether you guys are new to the channel or not, hit that like button so more people see this stream and can join us tonight to talk about fantasy football. There's my intro for you guys. I hope everyone's doing fantastic, man. We're going to get this thing kicked off in exactly 1 minute. So 10:40 p.m. Oh, it is 10:40 p.m. Eastern time. Okay. So let me go ahead and send out some final warnings that we are starting. And we're going to get this thing going here. So I know I sent out the invites a little bit early. So hopefully everyone's here. If not, I will control the board for a minute. And let's get it going. There we go. All right, so hop in the live chat. Like I said, let me know what's popping, guys. Let me know what everyone's doing. And please, any fantasy football topics you guys want to go over, let's get into it. We're going to have some fun tonight. We're going to talk some fantasy football. That's what we do here. So, okay, I will monitor things here. Looks like we're just missing Chunk and maybe Walito, but I'm sure they will be here sooner rather than later. Yeah, there's Chunk. There he goes. So, all right, let's see who's in the live chat tonight. Taylor, what's up, man? Chase, what up, what up? Thomas, what's going on, everybody? Good to see you guys tonight. Hope everyone is doing fantastic. Chase, I'm offering Mike Williams, 2024 first, and a third for CeeDee Lamb and Russell Wilson. Is it Superflex? I mean, I think it's a good trade, just off the top of my head, first thoughts. I think you had put this on Discord as well. That is your Superflex league, correct? That's the main league we've been kind of talking about. Oh, yeah, that's a good trade for you. That's a really good trade for you. Oh, God, I'm on the clock. Oh. Give me Eckler. I'm just not going to pass him there. Yeah, I do think that's a good trade for you. Looking at your team here, at quarterback, it's not like Russell Wilson's going to solve your problems, but considering you don't even have a starting quarterback in the Superflex spot, that's huge for you. Sam Darnold, Gardner Minshew, Zach Wilson on your bench. Hurts is your starter. So just getting Russ in the flex is big for you. But on top of that, Mike Williams, first and a third for CeeDee Lamb is, I think, worth it alone. So just being able to add Russell Wilson on top of that, I'm not really concerned about you losing Mike Williams. I mean, let's take a look here. That's going to put your receiving core as Pittman, Waddle, Lamb. So that's good. I mean, your bench, yeah, you got some names there too. So I think in your position, you go ahead and you do this trade. How do you feel about it? That is the important question. Taylor, Dalvin to the Jets heating up. Is it? I mean, at this point, I would like all these veteran running backs that are floating out there to just be on a team. So I hadn't seen anything new on that, but let me know, Taylor. Andrea, hello. Godfather, hello. Hope you guys are doing well. Boxing the Jack, what's up? What's up? Thomas, I hope work is going well for you. Looks like you've been working quite a bit this week. Astra, hello. Albert, what's going on, everybody? It's so good to see you guys tonight. Yeah, Chase, I do think that's a good trade for you, bro. Marco, what's up, bro? Always a treat getting the number 1 spot. Hanging out with JJ. I feel like every time I draft from the 1.7, 1.6, maybe the 1.8, I just feel like Jalen Waddle is that second round wide receiver who's going in up on my team. And I feel like this is like the second or third mock with you guys in a row where I've kind of been in that area. But I love Waddle in that range. You know, if Garrett Wilson, Amon-Ra don't fall out, which they probably won't. I mean, Garrett Wilson at the 2.5 is like the latest we've seen Garrett Wilson in a mock in a while. I mean, obviously just a name that a lot of fantasy managers really like right now. So he probably won't fall out that far. Interesting start to the draft tonight here, but yeah, I mean, at the end of the first, Diggs, Kelsey, Lamb, JT, Brown. Outside of Lamb and Brown, I mean, I don't know. I guess Kelsey too. I don't know. Just a little bit of a different order overall than what we've seen. But yeah, Amon-Ra the 2.4, Garrett Wilson the 2.5, I really like. Just compared to most of the mocks that we've ran overall. Let me see. Chase, I think it's a good trade for you, man. If you feel good about it, I think go through with it. Thomas going to the MLB draft on Sunday. That'll be fun. Chase, that was JT was an auto pick. Well, heavy running back for you, bro. Heat Lifer, what are your thoughts of going Garrett Wilson and Amon-Ra at 1.12, 2.1? I love it. I love both those guys going into this season. So, I mean, of course, it depends, like, if any other wide receivers fall out. Or if A.J. Brown or CeeDee Lamb are there, I'd probably still have both of those guys above Amon-Ra and Wilson. But I definitely think, like, pairing one of those two players with an Amon-Ra, St. Brown, or Garrett Wilson is a very good start. Assuming that we're talking about redraft right here. In Dynasty, like, I mean, it's another question. I think it's a bad start, but Superflex is probably going to want a quarterback. But if we're purely talking redraft, like, yeah, I'm fine with that start if those are your guys for sure. But I still think CeeDee Lamb, A.J. Brown are there. They're probably a hair above those guys. But I do think that Amon-Ra and Wilson bring that kind of unique upside and could have, could be making large strides this coming year as well. Ooh, this is a tough pick right here. I'll go Kenneth. Go Kenneth here. Kenneth Walker or Travis Etienne. Who do you guys like more? I still believe in Walker. I'm going to try and switch it up tonight. And kind of bounce between running back and receiver for most of this draft. See what happens at quarterback and tight end. Taylor saw a bunch of reports on Twitter today saying the Jets have legitimate interest, doing a lot of homework on it. Why? The Jets just want to ruin a backfield from a fantasy perspective. I mean, don't they understand that we play fantasy football? Don't they get it? We already have Michael Carter and Izzy floating around. Zonovan Knight. I mean, someone's going to get cut, right? If Dalvin goes there. And, of course, we have Breece Hall there. I mean, self-explanatory. But, I mean, I guess they're going all in. I'd rather see them go all in on a wide receiver, I suppose. But, hey, more power to them. I mean, I think it's certainly interesting that the Jets really do go out and get Dalvin because I think maybe there's more to be said about Breece Hall's injury. We've kind of talked about this before. I don't know. I just maybe just the nature of the running back position is worrisome to them. I mean, they've already drafted Izzy, which is like, a great RB3 for that team. I mean, somebody could honestly have a role even with Hall and Carter fully healthy, just with his skill set. So, and obviously Zonovan Knight is, brings something to the table as well. Like, you're not going to go in the season with 5 running backs. You may not even go into the season with 4 running backs. So, we'll see how it shakes out. All right, give me my boy DJ Moore here, and let's move along. But thanks for the update, Taylor. We'll see what happens. I mean, you guys know how I am with free agents. Like, I don't really go too back and forth on it just because, so much can happen. So many reports can end up being just complete bogus. So it's, I don't know. We'll see what happens. Heat Lifer, I've been doing CD and Wilson redraft PPR 3 wide receiver league. Yeah, I like that start a lot. I mean, don't get me wrong. I really, really, really like Garrett Wilson this year. Really, really like Amon-Ra as well. I mean, Amon-Ra's kind of been my guy all off season. But I still think going out and getting that veteran who brings, still upside to the table, but also that, for sure consistency to the table as well. And a player like CeeDee Lamb or A.J. Brown, then pairing them with one of those younger guys like Amon-Ra or Garrett Wilson is just a little bit of a safer start. Plus, I still think we have to admit that CeeDee Lamb, A.J. Brown are just bona fide elite wide receivers, right? Heat Life, I don't know why I'm so off of A.J. Brown this year. Maybe because we saw Devonta Smith take over so much last year. I mean, I'm a huge Devonta Smith fan. It was like one of my top drafted players last offseason. But, I mean, that's hard for me to agree with. When you look at weeks 12 through weeks 18 for A.J. Brown, 12 or more fantasy points in all those games, 31.9 in week 13, 27.1 in week 15 through the fantasy playoffs. Depending on what week you finished with, I mean, 13 and a half or more fantasy points if we're including week 18 in every game. So 16 or more fantasy points weeks 15 through 17, just under 1,500 receiving yards and 11 touchdowns. 17 yards per catch last year off of 88 receptions. So just a stellar year for A.J. Brown, your wide receiver 6 in full PPR last year. But don't get me wrong, it's not to discredit Devonta Smith. He was your wide receiver 9 and had a phenomenal run within those same weeks. I mean, monster games. If we're looking weeks 13 through 18 for Devonta Smith, 13.7 or more fantasy points in all of those games with a high of 31.3. You look at that same stretch for the playoffs, week 15, 17.6, week 16, 31.3, week 17, 20 and a half, 95 receptions, just under 1,200 receiving yards, 7 touchdowns, 12.59 yards per catch. I mean, don't get me wrong, they both really just had phenomenal years. That offense just played ridiculous last year. So it's close for me. I don't think one necessarily had I mean, statistically A.J. Brown did have the better year, but they were both very, very apparent within that offense. So if you're down on A.J. Brown, I would just say, I could agree with the sense that Devonta Smith might be a better value within the draft because he's typically going at the end of the second round. If you're really lucky, maybe falls to the beginning of the third. But, yeah, I get what you're saying, though. Towards the second half of the season, it did feel like Devonta Smith was maybe more of a security-type blanket. The connection seemed a little bit more there where A.J. Brown had the weird eye injury and a couple things going on, I guess, but overall still played great. I mean, that week 13 game against Tennessee was just solidified, what A.J. Brown brings to the table, doing it against his former team and everything. And then, they really just had phenomenal years. But yeah, if you're down on A.J. Brown, then I would say, Devonta Smith, probably the better value within the draft, just because you can get him a little bit later. Albert, which side do you prefer, Breece Hall or Rachaad White in 2024 first? I mean, I think at this point I would probably marry Rachaad White if he proposed to me. So he has been one of my favorite players all off season. I mean, you still have to admit that Breece Hall is the better player here. It kind of depends on what situation the team is in. It's close. I might take White in the first, but yeah, I mean, if Hall wasn't coming off injury, I probably wouldn't even consider it. But we do have to, you do have to understand, as good as like player Breece Hall is. Let me make this next pick. Just go Godwin. The nature of the running back position is just not promising right now. So, Hall can definitely be one of these running backs who ends up, as relevant as an Austin Eckler, Saquon Barkley, who is just going to be relevant from a fantasy perspective for years to come. So it's very close. It's very close. But like I said, it depends. If it's a contending team, I like both these guys on contending teams, but I still give the edge to Breece Hall. If it's a team that's kind of competing, but maybe in the middle, or just a team that's rebuilding, I think you can go for the first rounder and Rachaad White. But it is close here. Chat, what do you guys think? Let us know for Albert. Breece Hall or Rachaad White in 2024 first. Superflex Dynasty League. Is it? Wait. Yeah, it is Superflex Dynasty, right? Because it... I don't know. Your chat says just Superflex League, but I'm assuming it's Dynasty League. J-Dubs, Kendre versus A-Chain versus Roshan in Dynasty is certainly an interesting conversation here. If I'm looking at a pure 3-down back, I think Kendre has all the tangibles for that type of role. So I do think, I really like Kendre Miller as a prospect, but I don't dislike A-Chain or Roshan. But I think when we look at these three backfields, all three running backs are kind of in a unique spot, right? When we look at the Saints, you still have Jamal Williams there, then we don't know what is going on with Alvin Kamara and his legal situation. So, that kind of complicates things there. But Kendre Miller could certainly be in a position where he is easily going to be getting a lot of touches his rookie season, but I just don't know at what point in the rookie season, But I do think as a prospect, he has, out of these three guys, the right tangibles to be a 3-down back. So I really like Kendre Miller. When we look at Devon A-Chain, trying to keep the similarities between the backfields in mind. Still have Jeff Wilson there. You still have Raheem Mostert there. Devon A-Chain is not a 3-down back. Okay. But you guys know I'm a big fan of Devon A-Chain purely because he landed with the Miami Dolphins. I love this fit for A-Chain. I've loved it since draft night, right? And that has not changed in the slightest. Not the slightest. I mean, I definitely think he's going to have weeks where he absolutely balls out. Just the right type of fit for this offense. Crazy speed, agility. He is going to be utilized correctly under this offense. Just point blank, right? So he's a unique player. He's a good fantasy player. I think he's going to be good as a flex option. I don't know if he's going to bring the same potential consistency as a player like Kendre Miller. Plus, there are still two other running backs on this team. And are Mostert and Jeff Wilson the biggest threats to remain RB1s? I don't quite think so, but they're still there. They still had good years within this offense last year. So when we look at Roschon Johnson, I don't think, as a prospect, right, I like Roschon Johnson. I do think as time goes on, even within the season, he could be getting a bulk of the carries for a couple reasons. But I do like Roschon Johnson. He's kind of in between, right? He's not necessarily a pure 3-down back, but he has more tangibles than A-Chain has, I would say. But when we look at this backfield, right, I don't think enough people are nearly concerned enough with Donta Foreman as they should be. I do think that Donta Foreman is actually going to be vulturing a lot of touches within this offense, especially to start the year. Like, I think the Bears come out the gate with Foreman as their RB1. I just think he is like that kind of like ground and pound, 3-down type back that they're going to want to utilize right out of the gate. 914 rushing yards last year, 5 touchdowns, excuse me, not 15, off 203 attempts. So, I mean, overall, even with Chuba there and CMC there part of the season, then that backfield, still a very productive back. I really think the Bears are just going to start the year with Foreman kind of hot out of the gate and kind of utilize, just him being like that kind of, I don't want to say bell cow running back, but that in-your-face type running back, And then I think Khalil Herbert just isn't the best pass blocker, has some issues staying healthy, but will be part of this offense, don't get me wrong, especially against soft defenses. He's going to get some dump offs, catch some passes, things like that. But I just don't think he is going to be a top of this depth chart necessarily. So I really do think that Roschon Johnson has ability to move into a solid role with this team. But there's still other guys there at the end of the day. So we're breaking down these three backfields. It's very interesting. And Travis Homer is still on the Bears as well at the moment, who, I don't know, had some flashes last year, I guess. So it's tough. When we're looking at value, I think Roschon Johnson is probably the best value out of the three in startup drafts, but it's tough. You kind of just have. This is one of those situations, like if you're looking at these three running backs, you kind of just have to go with your own conviction, right? You kind of have to follow, like, which player do you personally like the best? Because I actually think all these situations are pretty similar. So you kind of just have to look at what is going to be your personal guess. I mean, you guys know I've probably drafted A-Chain the most out of these guys, but I just like A-Chain. I'm just sticking with it. I do think the safest pick is probably Kendre Miller. The pick with the most upside is going to be A-Chain for me. I think Roschon Johnson's like somewhere kind of in between. I don't know if he's going to be getting touches like right out of the gate, but I do think as season goes on, like he could certainly be that guy. So we'll see how it plays out. But these are three rookie running backs in backfields that certainly have some value already there. Maybe not the most value from a fantasy perspective, but value from a real life football perspective. Do you think Swift hurts them in any way in regards to A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith? No. I mean, Swift's going to get his touches. He's going to get probably some receptions as well. But no, I think this offense is dynamic enough, good enough, can score enough points that it, don't get me wrong. Some guys are going to have some down weeks here and there with Goddard there as well. But really, when you look at this receiving tree, like, it's not very deep, I mean, you kind of have Brown, Smith, and Goddard. I think Swift will get some receptions, but no, I don't think he's going to hurt. I don't think Swift is going to hurt Devonta or A.J. Brown's value overall. James, I respect Rachaad White, but if he doesn't take over the carries this year, he'll be stuck in a committee role. Hey, don't say that. He's an RB1 forever. I mean, don't get me wrong. It is like a testy year for him. I just think he's going to pull through. I mean, I like White. There's, a lot of running backs in that tier, like if we're talking from a dynasty perspective, that I like for like 2 to 3 years. Like when I'm looking at running backs right now, if you're going for value in mid to late round guys, like the nature of the position right now, we're no longer looking at like long-term guys for them. It's just going to be hard to find more and more of those long-term guys. So give me 2 rookies in a row. Let's go Flowers and A-Chain. Okay, let me get caught up here. Smokey, what's good, bro? Hello. Smokey, just don't worry about it for now. We'll get it figured out. You can hit me up on Sleeper or Discord if you need to. But if you can't do it right now, we'll hold off for now. Uh, Jacob says if Brees didn't get hurt, he might be valued over CMC and Dynasty leagues. I mean, I don't think that's crazy to say. Like you're saying, the pace he was on, right? I mean, I still think that a lot of rankings out there still have Hall as like a top 3 or 4 running back in Dynasty, which I don't think is crazy to say. When we look at last year, right? 463 rushing yards, 4 touchdowns off of 80 attempts. That's 5.79 yards per carry. 19 receptions off 31 targets, 218 receiving yards, 7 yards per touch in terms of receiving touches, 11.4 yards per catch, 1 receiving touchdown. From fantasy perspective, 9.1 points in week 1. Okay, and that's not bad for a rookie. But after that, 13 or more fantasy points in every game that he played, weeks 2 through week 7. That's much better. We like those double digits. Okay, ceiling of 27.7 points against Miami. And he could have had more points again. Michael Carter went off that game as well, if I'm not mistaken. Let's see, that was week 5. Yeah, Michael Carter had 17.3 fantasy points and had 2 touchdowns that game. So, I mean, Brees Hall literally had 2 receptions for 100 receiving yards, 50 yards per catch. So, I don't think that's crazy to say at all. I don't. And I still think there's a lot of rankings that probably still have him as like RB3. So, let's see. You think he sees the field with Wilson and Mostert? I live in Miami. I've been hearing he plays kickoff and punt returner. So, I do. I don't think it's going to be like a true 3-down back type situation. Hold on, let me make this draft pick. There we go. But yes, I do think he'll be pretty heavily involved, and I think that he'll be involved just because his skill set fits the offense so well. So he's not gonna be playing the same role as Wilson or Mostert by any means, but they're going to figure out ways to get him included within this offense, just so he can utilize. I mean, this offense runs off speed. Waddle out there, Tyreek Hill out there, and I think that A-Chain will definitely be utilized. But yeah, I mean, to your point, it's not going to be like he's playing like a 3-down back type role or anything like that. Jazz, I think Kendre is the clearest path for upside. I mean, I guess it kind of depends. Some people kind of define upside in different ways. So, I think Kendre Miller as a whole could easily end up being the best pick out of the bunch long term. I do think that offense is going to be a little bit better than most people are considering going into the year. A weak division at the end of the day. Considering the suspension is looming, yeah. Thomas, I sure hope Foreman does good. I have him in Dynasty. Yeah, I think to start the year, he's going to be just fine. I really do. But as the season goes on, I don't know how confident I am. Madison versus Pierce versus JK. I'm all in on JK based on statistics. Ooh. Yeah, I'd probably go J.K. Dobbins as well. I would. Man, I took a risk and punted tight end tonight, and I just don't know if that really paid off. I probably should have gone tight end over Sky Moore. I didn't think Sky Moore would fall out. Mistakes. All right, give me 2 a time. 2 in the 11th feels pretty good, though. I mean, if I got Faremuth, Ingram, or Komet at 10.6, I probably would have gone Sky Moore at 11.7 at that point. But, even one of those 3 tight ends or Dolchich and with Tua in these late rounds, I think it's pretty nice. Yeah. Madison versus Pierce versus JK. I'm probably going Dobbins. for a lot of different reasons. I mean, he's going to be healthy this year. Was not fully healthy last year by any means, and even not being fully healthy, still played very well those last couple games of the season, right? And plus, this offense is going to be very different this year, right? New offensive coordinator, Lamar Jackson is happy. There's some receiving options on this team. Should be more red zone opportunities. The defense was very, very, very good last year. You know, this is going to be a good Ravens team this year. I mean, they could seriously win that division, you know, if everything falls into place. So, yeah, I still go JK out of those three guys. And I'd probably go Alexander Madison. You know, are the Vikings going to be a pass-heavy team? No. But once again, you know, they should have plenty of red zone opportunities. So, I still go Madison number 2 there. Then I'm going to put Pierce as number 3. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, I was a huge Pierce fan last year, and I still like Dameon Pierce. But I'm out of these 3 offenses, that's the offense that I think will score the least this year. And I don't know if Dameon Pierce really like has to always score, but he is kind of one of those running backs that is kind of built that way. I mean, only 165 receiving yards off of 30 receptions last year and 1 receiving touchdown. You know, don't get me wrong, like Devin Singletary's there now as well. And you got Stroud at quarterback. We don't really know like who's going to be the wide receiver 1 within this team, but I'm not like super stoked about. I mean, there's going to be some sort of good value there, whether it's John Mechie or Nico Collins, whoever it's going to be, but I'm just not like over the top in love with this tight end or receiver room. So I don't know. For me, I think Pierce is the odd man out here. I definitely like those other 2 guys more. All right, I need another quarterback. I was kind of hoping Richardson would fall out here, but you know we got Boss Man out here sniping me. So, I mean, go Jets. Let's just stay in the same division, I guess. And I'm just completely punting the tight end position tonight. So yeah, I mean, if you guys are grading my mock, whatever, I do think going tight end at the 10.6 would have been the better move. Freiermuth and Ingram are both good values there. I like Komet there. Dulcich, I thought may fall out here. Be like Chunk gets a tight end 2 behind Goddard. I'm not against that. I mean, we got 2 teams in front of me went 2 tight ends, so a bad guess by me. But I probably could have got Sky Moore at the 11.7 anyways. So was really trying to bounce between running back and receiver all night and then get a good value at quarterback and tight end was very close. It's very close. You know, if I had just gone tight end to 10.6, I probably still would have got Tua. Maybe I could have got Sky Moore if I really want to do that. But, you know, any of these tight ends in the 10th and then 2 in the 11th would have proven this method true, good values. Then, you can still get a second tight end or quarterback with these last 2 picks. So, there's my notes on my draft. Let's see. Yeah, Smokey, we'll get it figured out, bro. Don't stress about it. But yeah, for the funds for the specific leagues, I do need them all like in the same place, unfortunately. Madison is being pushed too high. I mean, I agree. Like, I don't like Madison at his value at all. I mean, where did he go tonight? 6.8 is good. Like, I like Madison. Like, 6.8 is fine for Madison. It's when we're seeing him in the 5th and the 4th. I mean, there are even points he was going like at the end of the 3rd, you know. After Rachaad White, before Javonte, I mean, I'd probably take Monty and Pacheco over him. But 6.8 I think is okay for Madison. GT Sport, I've been waiting on tight ends lately. Yeah, I've been kind of pushing it towards. I mean, I usually kind of go with that if I don't get a good value guy like Goddard was my guy last year, for example. If Freiermuth in the 10th is like the guy I'll take. I love Dulcich late right now as well. I love Cole Kmet. I mean, Cole Kmet, Dulcich, Freiermuth have kind of been my guys all offseason. And I like Ingram and Njoku a lot. Like, that range of tight ends is really where I end up at most of the time. I guess Jawan Johnson is my late round guy if you punt the position. Does Gabe Davis bounce back? I mean, I don't think so personally, and I don't think that he's really like ever bouncing back. You know what I mean? Like when you look at Gabe Davis statistically, um, really the hype around Gabe Davis came from his playoff performance, right? You remember that game against the Chiefs, where it just went absolutely crazy. Played well throughout the playoffs, and then it was like we're going into the year. We know Buffalo is going to be a very good offense, right? But he had 549 receiving yards, 2021, 6 receiving touchdowns, 599 receiving yards his rookie season, 7 receiving touchdowns. Like good marks for a rookie and sophomore receiver. Did improve on them last year with 836 receiving yards and 7 receiving touchdowns. His yard per catch rate has always been very good, 15.6 or more, 17.4 last season, right? So like I don't think he's really bouncing back from anything. He's just like has slowly improved, and he didn't make that like junior year leap that everyone thought he was going to make. Yards per catch are still good. Like we know what Gabe Davis brings to the table, right? We know what to expect out of him. He's not going to bring consistency. He's a boomer bust guy. He's a flex option, and I don't think he's going to be much more than that, unfortunately. They said Nico Collins has been Stroud's favorite target. I mean, if I'm taking a chance on a receiver in that offense, for me, it is Nico Collins. I think Stroud could surprise in that division. I mean, the division is weak. Don't get me wrong. There's not a lot of risk with going out and drafting Texan players right now. So if you want to take that risk, it's fine because there's not much risk. If you're going to go out and get one of those guys, one of those receivers late. I mean, Mechie's at the 13.5 tonight. Collins went at the 9.11. Like, Collins is the hottest name in that offense, in my opinion, in terms of just rankings and everything. So maybe a little bit more risk there. Schultz, of course, is still being 12.2. Like, there's not a lot of risk at the end of the day. So you're going to go out and get a guy that's fine. I know you love Rashad White, but White or Pacheco? Thomas says, I'd lean Pacheco, better offense. Yeah. I actually probably still lean Rashad White by a hair, because when you look at the Buccaneers offense right now, like there's just not. I mean, there's got to be some sort of passing game. Don't get me wrong. You still have Chris Godwin on this team. You still have Mike Evans on this team. And I think Cade Otton's a good young tight end. Russell Gage is still floating around, if I'm not mistaken. There's still options, But I do think this is an offense that's going to need to lean on the run, because I don't think that the quarterback position is always going to be completely stable. When you look at the Chiefs, I love Pacheco. Don't get me wrong. I think Pacheco is going to get plenty of opportunities to score this year. Showed a lot of promise in his rookie season, right? You guys know I'm a big fan of Pacheco. But the way that offense is ran is ran through Patrick Mahomes, and he can really do whatever in the world he wants. They're going to utilize multiple players around him, and they're just going to tear it up. So I actually think that I still lean White by a hair, even though I do agree the Chiefs are the better offense. Sometimes, best offense doesn't necessarily correlate to more fantasy points, believe it or not, because those fantasy points are spread out a little bit more. You know what I mean? But it's very close. Like, I don't think you can really go wrong at their current values. I mean, White at the 6.7 tonight, Pacheco at the 7.2. I like both those guys a lot. Walito, what's good? Tommy, you didn't miss anything. I'm going through each league individually and collecting payment. So I haven't got to that league yet. Just the easiest way for me to do it. All right, let's take a look at some teams. J-Dubs, I literally was looking for your team. No 1.14 tonight. All right, coast to coast. Be like Chunk. What's up, dude? Lamar and Gino. What a good quarterback room. Goddard, Dolchich. Yeah, I mean, he knocked quarterback and tight end out the park tonight. I don't know if it's 100% necessary, but, the depth's not going to hurt you going into the season. C-Mac, Pollard, Harris, Algier. I'll take that running back room all day long. McLaurin, Burks, Tony, J-Mo, Hodgins. I mean, probably the weakest part of this team, but you get that consistency out of McLaurin. We kind of practice for 2 flex leagues, full PPR leagues, so I want more value at wide receiver. Like, I mean, I think that's where you have to make the decision to sacrifice second quarterback or tight end. But then again, I don't even know what value you're really getting at wide receiver at that point in the draft. So, don't get me wrong. Burks, Tony, J-Mo down the stretch. Hodgins is fine the 13th. I mean, you got a lot of upside at wide receiver. A lot of upside, but a little bit of risk as well. But the rest of the team looks very good. You're starting Lamar and Goddard, Seaback and Pollard, McLaurin and Tony or Burks. And that's where I think it gets kind of like gray because you're probably flexing Najee, which is fine, I guess. But your second flex, is probably Burks or Tony. And then you just don't have a lot of depth past that. Like, J-Mo down the stretch will help. But I don't know how much consistency he's going to bring, And then Algier is fine, but he's not going to have a high ceiling with Bijan there. He's a good value in the 10th round, don't get me wrong. Hodgins is fine, but once again, that wide receiver room is just so crowded. I just can't pin it down. I like Hodgins, but overall, I just don't know how much consistency you get there. Great quarterback room, great tight end room. Running backs do look good. And this is a fine, don't get me wrong, with the waiver wire, with trades, this is still like a fine roster, but I think you get some inconsistency, unfortunately, at least in the flex, just due to the wide receivers on this team. Walito, what you do tonight, man? What's up? Prescott at quarterback and Njoku at tight end. Good values there. Going late round quarterback, late round tight end. I think you got two good values there for sure. ETN, Akers, Cook, Warren. Okay. I like ETN. I like Akers. I like Cook where you drafted them. I don't really target Dalvin Cook, but in the 8th round, perfectly fine. Akers good in the 6th. ETN good in the 3rd. So Warren, add one handcuff. I'd rather have someone who brings. Where you draft him, there's not really anyone there. You're kind of looking at handcuffs purely. Jerome Ford, Jalen Warren, Bigsby, and Pierre Strong. So, but yeah, I think with that, it's fine to only draft 4 running backs, but I think you want that 4th running back to have some, value in terms of touching the football. CeeDee Lamb, Devontae Adams, Ridley, Hollywood, Evans, Bateman, Shaheed, a very, very good wide receiver room. He knocked wide receiver out of the park. Quarterback and tight end are good. Running backs are fine. I just would like to see that 4th running back have a little bit more immediate value in case you need it. But the way this team is built, you're starting Prescott and Njoku, Etienne and Akers, Lamb, Adams, Ridley, and Brown in the flex. And you still have Cook and Evans, Bateman, Shaheed to flex. So, I don't really think it's too much of an issue to have one handcuff running back sitting on the bench because you're in a very good position for the flex. You just, ETN, Akers, Cook could all get injured very quickly. That's just the nature of the position. But team looks good, man. Box in the Jack. What's up, dude? Watson at quarterback. Mandrews at tight end. Can't go wrong there. I think we're kind of, if you want to draft a second quarterback with Watson, that's fine. But I think most people are comfortable with him as a solo quarterback in a redraft 1 QB league. Barkley, Pierce, Dillon, Johnson, Ford. Good kind of late round value there. Once again, I think you have some handcuffs here. But obviously you're leaning on the wide receiver position. Brown, Cooper, Ayuk, Juju, Moore, and Jaden Reed. So you're starting Watson and Andrews, Barkley and Pierce, Brown, Cooper, Ayuk in the flex. And your second flex could be A.J. Dillon, could be Juju, maybe it could be Rondo Moore. So I think Roschon, Ford, and Reed are fine, but they might not have a lot of immediate value. They may be guys who are kind of blooming into the season. Ford could end up being a pure handcuff, could end up being someone who gets touches with Chubb out there as well. So we'll have to see. But, ultimately looks pretty good. But you're kind of, contingent on Juju bringing a lot of consistency or A.J. Dillon finally bringing consistency. And Rondo Moore just not being hurt. And hopefully Kyler's there to throw it at him. You know what I mean? Taylor. What's up, dude? Josh Allen at quarterback, Waller at tight end. I'm still drafting a second tight end behind Waller. He's fine in the 7th, but just that injury history still bugs me. It just does, man. These gaps, They concern me, man. So I see a lot of people saying like Waller is the clear-cut number one target for the Giants. I don't know if I agree with that. I just think when we look at this wide receiver room, I mean, Paris Campbell, Isaiah Hodgins, Sterling Shepard, Darius Slayton, you got Hyatt there, you got Randall Robinson there. There's like a lot of different options. Is Jamison Crowder still in the Giants? That's interesting. I didn't even know that. It doesn't really help, but probably doesn't hurt too much. It's just a lot of options. And then Saquon still catches out of the backfield too. So I don't think it hurts Waller like to the point where I'm not like where I'm out on him, but I just think that I don't know if he's a clear-cut number one target. I just think there's a lot of mouths to feed. All right, where were we? Aaron Jones, Miles Sanders, Mitchell, Elliott, Spears. So I can live with that. I still think Zeke's going to end up somewhere where he can vulture some touchdowns, have some, be a little bit relevant. Diggs, Wilson, Lockett, QJ, Elijah Moore, Mooney. Good wide receivers, very good value throughout the draft tonight. So starting Allen and Waller. Jones and Sanders, Diggs and Wilson, Lockett and probably Elijah Moore. But Quentin Johnson could sneak in there. Mooney could sneak in there. Running backs kind of got two handcuffs here. But Mitchell's like top tier handcuff, in my opinion. Spears is good to have on the bench. Then, like I said, Zeke I still think could actually be relevant this year. So, good team, man. How do you feel about it? Ghost, no love for Zach Ertz. I'm a little concerned about Zach Ertz because we haven't really got an update on what his recovery's looking like, and I like Trey McBride a lot. But to your point, Zach Ertz started the year on fire, so. I do like Zach Ertz. I just want an actual update on his injury, All right, Marco at the 1.1. Mahomes and Kyler is a ridiculous quarterback room. T-Hawk and Kincaid. I can live with that. Henry, Monty, Jamal. You need one more running back on this team. You do. J.J. Kirk, Deontay Lazard, Myers, Boyd. I like everything about this team. You just need one more running back. You don't want to go in the season with just 3 running backs. So maybe sacrifice Kincaid, maybe Tyler Boyd. If it's me, I'm probably not drafting Tyler Boyd here. There wasn't a lot at running back. I don't mind going Kincaid and Kyler, but yeah, I want one more running back on this team. So we're starting Mahomes and T-Hawk, Henry and Monty, JJ and Kirk, flexing Deontay, flexing Lazard. I can live with that all day long. But I'm a big Kirk fan, and I think Deontay in the 7th is beautiful. And I like Lazard as a late-round pick. So Jamal and Myers, good bench options. Kincaid behind T-Hawk, Kyler behind Mahomes is nice. Just need one more running back on this team. But I can understand when you're mocking, there's better value at other positions. I guess I get it. All right, Astra at the 1.3. What's up? Danny Dimes and Captain, you like that? Kirk Cousins. Fine with that. Ingram, I'm fine with. I know there's some worries out there for some people because the contract or whatever. And Brenton Strange being drafted. Yeah, still absent a month ago, whatever. But I like Ingram. We'll see what happens. Ramondre, Mixon, Penny, Harris, Bigsby. Okay, I can live with that. Go for some late round value there in Penny and Harris. Mixon might end up being a really good value. It's just such a weird situation. Hill, Smith, Hopkins, Addison, Mike Williams. I like this wide receiver room. Yeah. Just a good value team throughout the night. Took what the draft gave to you, right? Starting Dimes or Cousins. Starting Ingram. Starting Ramondre and let's say Mixon, I guess. Hill, Smith, Hopkins, Addison. I like that starting lineup. Mike Williams, Penny, Harris. One of your 2 quarterbacks and Bigsby on the bench is pretty solid, man. This is a good team. Yeah, good value throughout the night. Biggest question mark for this team is what happens with Joe Mixon, but none of us know. Chase Brown. What's up, dude? T-Law and Goff at quarterback. Can live with that. Love both those guys. Kittle and Schultz at tight end. Can live with that. I like getting a tight end too behind Kittle. Said it all last offseason, then he missed the first 2 games of the year. Still love Kittle, though. But he just has an injury history. JT, Chubb, Cook, McKinnon. I can live with that in redraft. I actually think that's a pretty good running back room in redraft. Metcalf, Allen, JSN, Collins, Mingo. Okay. I mean, if Collins is that guy, like we talked about earlier, that's fine. Mingo's fine in the 11th. Like, already having JSN. I mean, I get it. Like, JSN is going to get his touches, his receptions. Mingo could end up being the wide receiver 1, so it could be worth it. But I personally might go for, like, Shaheed or Mooney. But I mean, rookie wide receivers like do their thing now, so I'm probably okay with this. All right, we're starting T. Long, Kittle, JT, Chubb, Metcalf, Allen, JSN, and Collins in the flex, or Cook. I mean, that's second flex. So you have Cook, Collins, McKinnon, Mingo. That's a good spot to be. You have a backup quarterback and backup tight end, so you have depth there. So, yeah, I can work with it. All right, let me get caught up here. Nick. Lots of team reviews tonight. Ooh, sorry, hit my mic. All right. Fields at quarterback with Jordan Love. That's fine. Pitts at tight end. That's completely fine. Good value at the 5.5. Bijan and Gibbs going for the top of the rookie class there. Madison, Singletary, Foreman. I can live with that running back room. I do like Madison at the 6.8. I think that's where he should be going, around that area. Olave, Dodson, Cooks, Thomas, and Mechie. Interesting wide receiver room. Like, I'm not going out of my way to draft Brandon Cooks, but he's probably fine where he's going. I'm not going out of my way to draft Michael Thomas. Literally, like, since I started this channel, I've been off of Michael Thomas, and it's just followed the timeline, and I'm just sticking by it. Like, this is when we started the channel, so I'm just like, I'm sticking by it. But, like at the 9.5, I'd probably take Elijah Moore or Cortland Sutton, maybe even Juju or Nico Collins before I take Michael Thomas personally. Mechie's fine there, but I like Mooney or Shaheed more personally. So you're starting Fields and Pitts, Bijan and Gibbs. That's fun. Olave and Dotson. And see, like, this is where it just gets a little murky. Like, in your flex, I mean, it could truthfully be anyone else on your roster. Madison, Cooks, Thomas, Singletary, Foreman, or Mechie. So for me, it's probably Madison and probably Cooks. I think having, Thomas, Singletary, Foreman, Mechie on your bench is fine. I probably would have skipped Jordan Love here and gone with another wide receiver, but it's just a matter of, does Cooks really establish that role within the offense? Does Michael Thomas actually play this year? And really, John Mechie is just a big question mark after missing last year. Unfortunate circumstances, but it's hard to evaluate from a fantasy perspective. So, but I think Bijan and Gibbs is a lot of fun. I mean, look at your first 7 picks, a lot of upside here. And definitely could be, the basis of a very, very good team. All right, Andrea at the 1.6. What's going on? We got Herbert, good value in the 5th. Take it all day long. Lawrence with the 5.11. I love both those guys in the 5th round. If you get them later, that's even better. Freiermuth at the 10th. I love that as well. Good quarterback room, good tight end room. Kept it simple. Jacobs, Dobbins, White, Robinson, Miller, good running back room, Andrea. Kupp, Higgins, Pickens. Did that rhyme? Higgins, Pickens. Sutton, Dobbs, Gallup. I can live with this wide receiver room in redraft. You're starting Herbert, starting Freiermuth, Jacobs and Dobbins, as long as Jacobs doesn't hold out. Kupp and Higgins. I'm flexing Rashad White. But, you could have White. It's just a good running back room. Jacobs, Dobbins, White, and Brian Robinson. Even Miller. But yeah, in the flex, you're probably flexing White and Pickens, but it could be Pickens and Sutton in full PPR. Brian Robinson could sneak in there too. Miller down the road. Dobbs and Gallup are good on the bench. It's a good team, Andrea. Yeah, I mean, especially with trades and the waiver wire, this could be a really good squad. Draft of the night. Ooh, it's close, actually. It is close. I actually really like Walito's team. I just think it's a ground solid team. Prescott and Njoku, Etienne Akers, Lamb, Adams, Ridley, Hollywood. Evans and Cook on the bench, Bateman, Shaheed on the bench, one handcuff on the bench. I actually like this team a lot. But I actually really like Andrea's team that we just went over. Like I said, Herbert, Freiermuth, Kupp, Higgins, Jacobs, Dobbins, White, Pickens, but you also have Brian Robinson, Sutton, and even Dobbs and Miller, Gallup. So I actually really like that team as well. But a lot of good teams tonight, guys. I also really liked Astra's team. I just think the bigger question mark here is what happens with Joe Mixon. If he's a check mark, then this team I think could be really good. So, but yeah, a lot of good teams tonight, guys. Taylor, just difference of opinion. I think Waller's going to be Jones' clear number one. Yeah, I mean, it's like I could see it happening. I just think it's a very difficult wide receiver room to look at. And it's kind of like, we saw the step up from Jones last year, and now he's kind of in this spot like, wait, who was really like the guy for Jones last year? Like Darius Slayton? I don't really know. Like, so and then you have Paris Campbell there as well, right? So I mean, it's just a lot of options. But don't get me wrong. I think in terms of security blanket, Waller could definitely be the guy. Jacob says, I second that. Waller's my cheapest elite tight end target in terms of valuation. Yeah, I don't think it's like I just think it's a little murky when we're looking at a clear-cut number one target right now within the offense. I guess is a point I'm trying to make. Just between how many different options there are, and I think the bigger issue for me with Waller is what I said all last offseason is the injury concerns. So. Hasn't played more than 11 games since 2020. So, don't get me wrong. Part of that could have been like being disgruntled with Las Vegas, which apparently he was. And now he's with a new team, fresh breath of air. Maybe some of that changes, But yeah, like I said, just a lot of wide receiver options on this team. But I'm still holding out for my boy Daniel Bellinger in Dynasty. We'll see what happens. Yeah, Andrew, a good draft for you tonight for sure. Ghost, question is, can Waller stay healthy? I completely agree. I take that bet, have Jawan Johnson as my backup. I like that. Yeah, I mean, you get Waller, Jawan Johnson late, Dulcich late. I'm good at that. Speaking of Jawan Johnson, let's roast my team. Here's a late round quarterback and tight end build for you guys. So, yeah, I wish I went tight end at the 10.6. I thought I could get Dulcich at the 11.7. But realistically, if I go Freiermuth here, Ingram, Kmet, then I get two in the 11th, then this is a very good build just based on this specific strategy. But I got too excited, got ahead of myself. Took Sky Moore to 10.6. Oh, well. All right, Tua and Rodgers at quarterback, I'm fine with. Jawan Johnson at tight end, I just completely punted tight end, which, it's one thing to punt tight end, it's another thing to completely punt tight end to be the only team to draft a tight end in the last round. So, I mean, yeah, I like Jawan Johnson, but Taysom Hill's still going to be around, and I don't know. Your tight end 9 in Hill last year, tight end 15 in Jawan Johnson. We'll see what happens. I will be playing the waiver wire at this team. Okay, Eckler, Walker, Swift, Gibson, A-Chain, we're good there. Waddle, Moore, Godwin, Flowers, Sky Moore, we're good there. The point of this method of bouncing between either running back or receiver, whichever you draft in the first round, is to build a consistent team. Like, this team is not going to blow you out of the water. Is that a term? It's not going to be anything insane, but from head to toe, you're going to have consistency. You're going to have options at each position. I just kind of fumbled this strategy with the tight end move, right? But this was very, very close. Like, we could have gone, let's say we go Freiermuth, then Tua, then we get back around the 12.6. We could have gone Rodgers there. Then if we wanted one more wide receiver, we could have gone Shaheed right here. Like, that would have been a perfect build. Whether we go Rodgers or Geno there, Cousins, Kyler, whoever you want. And then we're able to get Mooney or Shaheed here with that final pick and already have our tight end. I think that's arguably just as good. I like Sky Moore right now. So, I risk it for the biscuit. It did not pay off. But anyways, I always call this the bounce back strategy. This is what I did in a lot of leagues last year, and it worked out pretty well for me. Like I said, I mean, you're still playing the waivers, you're still making trades after the draft, but it just builds a good, consistent team to go into the year with. And you could even do this strategy. Like, you don't have to go late round quarterback or late round tight end with this strategy. Something I really emphasized last year. Like, you can just allow a quarterback and or tight end to fall to you. So, like, if we're in the 9th round and you think Prescott's a good value, then you take him at the 9.7. Right? If we're in the 7th round, you think Waller's a good value, then you take Waller at the 7.7, then you go back to the strategy, and then once again, like, if there's just a clear-cut better running back or wide receiver on the board, then you deviate. But, yeah, this is something I ran a lot last offseason. You guys saw me talk about a lot, and like I said, worked pretty well for a lot of my leagues last year. Let's see here. Chase, y'all think McBride is worth holding in Dynasty Taxi? He's worth holding, yes. But it depends on who else is on your team. I guess that's really your question. Should I keep him on the Taxi squad or not? It just depends. I am a fan of McBride, though. And I do think he could have an impact this year. Surprised to see Gibson go after Swift. Yeah, I mean, it just depends on the mock who you're drafting with, all that good stuff. Like, Gibson is so all over the place right now in ADP that he could go early. But I still don't think he's going quite that early. Like, if he went, like, I don't know. I think he's going appropriately at 7 points. Like, maybe not at 7.7, but after Pacheco, Monty, Javonte, I still think he's in that range. Because you look at White, Madison, Javonte, and Pacheco at least. Those are like clear-cut RB1s. I mean, Javonte, you could argue with Pirine there isn't. Monty with Gibbs there isn't. But those guys are still going to get their share. So I still think you have to look at players like Madison, White, Pacheco, Connor, Akers, even Pierce. Like, those guys should be going before White. And I still think Swift is the number one guy in Philly. So, Swift, I think, is fine in redraft. Love him in best ball. He's bringing upside. Like, we know what we're getting out of Swift. He's part of the Eagles' offense. He's going to be inconsistent at times, but he just brings that pure upside to the table. So I've been drafting him a lot throughout the offseason and redrafted in best ball. Would I take him in Dynasty? Probably not. I did take him in one Dynasty league, but I am in 4. So Chase, my taxi is Roshan, Otten, Warren, A-Chain, and Nuka. I had to put A-Chain in taxi temp because I placed a waiver for Tajay Spears. Had to clear a bench spot, but then we'll swap. I think that's smart. I'd rather have A-Chain on my starting roster compared to Tajay, but I would probably have McBride off my taxi compared to those guys. Jacob, quarterback Allen, wide receiver Olave, Judy, running back CMC Pacheco, tight end Pitts, flexes Hollywood Brown. Happy PR, looks pretty good to me, Jacob. I'm not like crazy high on Jerry Judy, and I would say he's better in a full PPR scoring format, but I guess you could kind of say that about any wide receiver. But outside of that, I think it looks pretty good. Just can't really drop anyone for McBride. Well, then let him, if he's going to break out this year, he's going to break out, I mean, who's your starting tight end? Hold on, let me pull it up. I feel like by the time I get it pulled up, you're going to have to, you probably already have responded, but, I'm almost there. You've probably already responded, but it's okay. Oh, you got Kyle Pitts. I think you just roll with Pitts. Who's on your... You got Pitts, Kyle Pitts and Dalton Schultz. I think you just roll with those guys. Yeah, you can leave McBride on your taxi for now. You don't need him. You should have my team memorized. I know, right? Jacob, Deontay Johnson or Judy? I actually kind of view them like kind of similar. So it kind of depends on which offense you think is going to have the better year. If you do think that the Broncos are going to take a step forward, which they probably will, under Sean Payton, then I think you roll with Judy. But I like, they're not going like close in ADP if we're talking about drafting. Like Deontay is a better value. He went at 7.1 in tonight's mock, for example, where Judy's going at like the 5.9, sometimes even earlier. There's some people really, really high on Jerry Judy. So it just depends, man. If we're just talking about like who would I rather start, I mean, Judy's going to give you a little bit more upside, just looking at the offenses. But Deontay is just a consistent player, even if he didn't score any touchdowns last year. Chase, if that CD Wilson trade happens, I'll have to drop Darnold. Yeah. Darnold or Zach Wilson. But I have heard reports that Darnold is like, the Niners aren't looking for him to be the starter. Like, he's having a hard time picking up the offense, which is a complicated offense. So that makes sense. Chase, you're good, bro. That's what we're here for, man. Yeah, man. We're happy to help, of course. Glad that you value the community's perspective. All right, ladies and gentlemen. That'll wrap things up for the night. A good little mock in the mix. I don't know where I was going with that. Thank you guys for drafting with me tonight. Hope you guys had fun. Thank you guys for the fantasy questions. It was a good stream tonight. Very interactive. I appreciate you guys, man. Make sure you guys hit that like button on the way out, because that will help me. If you guys are new to the channel, thank you for being here. Make sure to hit that subscribe button, because that will help me. And yeah, man. If you guys are new to the channel, Instagram link is down below. Free Discord's down below. Mock draft invites, community updates, fantasy discussion, roster reviews, all that good stuff. Make sure to join the Discord. Follow us on Instagram. And that'll wrap it up for the night. Yeah, Chase, I will be making my selection in the Dynasty League right after this, I promise. Andrew, you have a good night as well. So yeah, thank you guys for hanging out tonight, man. You guys know who you are. I will probably be back on tomorrow night for a little Saturday night action. I'm thinking some underdog action is what we need to do, ladies and gentlemen. So thank you guys. I know I was not very active this week. Had a lot of work this week. So I appreciate you guys. Love you guys, man. Love this community. Really, really appreciate everything that you guys do for me as a community. And that'll wrap it up for the night. So with that, I will say thank you guys so much for watching and or listening. And remember, yes, Odd here on the catch. And